Hello friends, how are you today? It's Brother Wilson here. Uh, I'd like to do a brief video that's a reply to Mitch Bilankov's King James Confusion video that he put up in reply to something that a new friend of mine named Truth Speller recently put up. Truth Speller, in one of his replies, where he and Mitch are going back and forth, put up a video addressing the fact that Mitch said that God causes confusion in men's minds so they can't believe the gospel in the day and the hour which we live, as I understand it. I'm not going to go through all the trouble of bringing them up and letting you hear him. That's unnecessary. You can go to Truth Speller's page and watch the videos in their entirety so you can see everything in context and understand what the contention is here. But anyway, Truth Speller used 1 Corinthians 14:33, which says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as is in all churches of the saints." And Mitch came back with a video entitled King James Confusion, in which he dresses Truth Speller, or Chris I think his name is, down for taking the verse out of context. And he proceeds to show him what the context is, and of course, I mean, he's correct in the context of the thing, in the context that the statement is made in. And but where he got wrong is in his failure to see that it can be applied into broader circumstances than merely the statement here, which is talking about a confusion in the service because people are talking over each other and standing up and shouting back and forth and things of this nature. So in order to prove his point, he opens up one of these internet Bible programs, that you can go to, and it's, I don't know, what the Blue Letter Bible, whatever it is, but something of that nature. And then he brings up several different versions. I typically read all of my different versions. I've got 4 in this. This is 4 different versions of the Bible. There's another one. I have several of them here. I've got about 8. I guess I have 8 or 9 different versions of the Bible here that I will use sometimes for research. But I've only got one version that I believe, and that's the King James Version. Now, after Mitch went to this Bible program and opened it up, he clicks on the interlinear, which of course gives you the Greek, and then shows the words that are translated. And he points out the fact that in 1 Corinthians 14:33 that it does not have the word author in it. Therefore, he says that the NIV is correct in saying that God is not the God of disorder. But he failed to notice something in that was abundantly clear. He failed to notice that in the interlinear Greek that was right there accompanying the rest of the English translation, that the word theos is not used twice. It's used once. And if you read it without inserting something, then you would simply be reading that God is not disorder. So I think that an honest man would have to admit that the translators of both the King James Bible and the NIV made an insertion in there Now, in the KJV, of course, when they make insertions into the text, it's italicized. They do this in order for you to understand that they have supplied a word that fits that context in order to give clarity to the verse and to the passage. In the NIV, they don't italicize it. They don't put it in a margin note. They simply inserted theos the second time into the text as if it were exactly what was written. I think it's very important that if men are going to do things of this nature, that they inform you of it, and that there are a couple of rules that should be followed when this is done. First and foremost is that you should be informed that this is something that they found necessary to insert in order to make a complete sentence, in order to convey the thought. And secondly, that whatever is inserted must be something that lines up with the rest of the Bible in its totality. Now, you can't just take something from out of the air and stick it in there and say that's it, and then find that it contradicts other things. Mitch is real big on contradictions in the Word of God. Well, I'm telling you that when it says that God is not the God of disorder, it is a contradiction. That is as ridiculous as saying that because God is light and in him is no darkness at all, that he is God of the day but not of the night. That's as silly as saying that he's God of the saint but not of the sinner. You see, God created everything, everything, and everything that exists, whether it acknowledges him as such or not, he is the God of it. Period. 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 There is nothing, nothing, nothing that is not underneath him. Therefore, he is the God of everything. So that brings us back to 1 Corinthians 14 and 33, where it's talking about confusion. Okay. In this passage, since we know for certain that God is the God of the whole earth, that God created everything, every particle of dust that floats in the air, everything exists because of him, because it's his will. And he controls all things. He set everything in motion. He is the God of the universe. And there's nothing that he's not the Lord over. Nothing. Since we know that to be a fact, then it cannot be true to say that God is not the God of anything. He is the God of everything. However, there are things that the cognizant, thinking, self-willed parts of his creation are endowed, who are endowed with a will and self-determination, can do, that he is not the source of, that he is not the cause of, that he has not authored. And what this verse is saying, that the disorder, the confusion in the church, in the manner of worship that was taking place, was not authored by God. He did not authorize it. He was not pleased with it. It's not what he would have to be done. And the fact that men do evil does not mean that he's not God over those men. He's still their God. They may not recognize him. They may not worship him. They may not believe in him. That does not matter, friends. He is still God. He's still God. And if Mitch should happen to hear anything about this, that's what I want him to understand. That he is the God of the universe. And he's the God of every situation. He's the God of good and bad. He's the God of the saint, of the sinner, of darkness, of light. He's God, period. Period. And therefore, it would be totally proper, in my view, to say that this God, who is the God of everything, is not the author of confusion. Thank you.